Authority is not granted, it is sensed. Before you speak, before you move, the room has already decided whether you lead or disappear. The masses believe power comes from titles, wealth, or talent. Machiavelli knew better. Real authority is an atmosphere, an invisible pressure that silences noise and demands obedience without a single command. In a world of counterfeit confidence, the one who radiates quiet inevitability cannot be challenged. This video exposes 5 habits that forge an untouchable aura of authority. They are not polite tricks or motivational slogans. They are behavioral weapons. Each habit dismantles the illusions people cling to, from the need to explain themselves to the weakness of constant presence. Learn them, and you stop asking for respect. You extract it, ignore them, and you remain another voice in the swarm. Loud, but powerless. Machiavelli left the blueprint. What follows is his unflinching lesson in silent dominance. First habit is the discipline of strategic silence. A crowd's instinct is to fill every gap. In conversation, in conflict, in simple social exchange, the average mind fears emptiness more than exposure. Words spill to cover uncertainty, to camouflage insecurity, to prove existence. Yet every additional sentence betrays motive. The longer someone speaks, the more angles appear for leverage. Silence, by contrast, remains without edges, impossible to grasp or weaponize. This is why in every hierarchy, those who hold the real power speak least. You already feel the pull of this truth, the urge to answer quickly, to justify, to explain. It lives in your chest like a restless animal. Break it. Let the room grow tense around your refusal. Each second of quiet becomes a mirror, forcing them to confront their own need for reassurance while you remain unreadable. People will imagine what you are thinking, and their imagination will always exaggerate your strength. It is here that Machiavelli observed, "He who knows how to be silent shall rule when others quarrel." Because silence draws authority the way gravity draws mass. You are no longer reacting. You are dictating the rhythm. Feel how unsettling this is for them. Watch how questions sharpen, how voices rise to penetrate the stillness you create. They will offer explanations you never requested, exposing weaknesses you never had to uncover. Your restraint becomes a quiet form of dominance. You do not compete for attention. You force it to come to you. This is not passive. It is calculated pressure. Every moment you withhold a response tightens their need to win your acknowledgement. Master this discipline, and conversations tilt in your favor before they begin. Speak last or not at all. Let others drown themselves in disclosure while you stand anchored in silence. Influence will no longer be something you chase. It will arrive, compelled, because the one who owns the quiet owns the room. Second habit, ruthless control of pace and presence. Crowds move at the speed of anxiety. They rush to speak first, to arrive early, to fill silence with nervous motion. Their timing is dictated by the fear of being overlooked, their presence diluted by constant availability. In every gathering, the frantic compete for attention, while the patient rewrite the rhythm. Those who understand this dynamic know that time itself is a weapon, and presence, when rationed, becomes a force. Slow your heartbeat, and the room will follow. Power begins when you reject the panic that drives others to hurry. You notice the restless shuffle in their posture, the need to be seen, the impulse to interrupt. Resist it. Walk in when the conversation is all ready. alive, and let every eye pivot toward the shift in air. Machiavelli observed mid-sentence that men desire what is rare and fear what is scarce. And scarcity is the current you create when you refuse to move on their schedule. You are no longer another participant. You are the event. Feel the silence that grows when you delay a reply. Each pause becomes a test. They cannot win. They lean forward. They repeat themselves. They offer more than they intended. Your measured voice cuts through their urgency like a blade through water, unhurried, yet impossible to ignore. This is not arrogance. It is calculated scarcity. Your attention becomes a currency others will spend anything to acquire. Now watch how they begin to sync with you. Their breathing slows. Their words soften. They wait for cues. They do not realize you are giving. The room bends to the tempo you set. And with it, their perception of your value rises. When you finally speak or move, it lands with the weight of inevitability. Authority is not declared. It is timed. Control the pace, and every presence in the room, whether ally or rival, quietly concedes that you are the center they orbit. Third habit, mastery of impenetrable composure. A crowd studies faces the way predators study prey. Every twitch, micro-expression, and involuntary smile becomes an opening. Reaction is the currency of the unrefined. Those who react first provide others a map to their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. Unreadability converts exposure into liability and converts emotional noise into tactical advantage. In contests of influence, stillness reshapes how others act and what they choose to reveal. Cold realization. The impulse to answer is biological, abrupt, and insistent. You feel heat in the throat, an urgent need to justify, to explain, to assert a motive. Do not surrender to that reflex. Narrow replies to a single precise sentence or a calculated pause that forces others to supply their own story. Hold affect in reserve and watch them spill detail. Machiavelli advised princes to remain unreadable, for predictability invites manipulation, and withholding emotional cues removes the map they require to maneuver you. Your silence becomes instrument. Your measured line of sight becomes interrogation. Let them talk themselves into exposure, and then use those admissions as leverage. This is not passive self-control. It is active calculation and tactical restraint. Sharp observation. Anger will try to claim your face and hands. You will feel adrenaline push you toward immediate correction or spectacle. Delay. Slow your breathing. Straighten posture and allow the provocation to reveal its source. When others attempt to bait you, their voices rise and their plans become audible. Their haste exposes alliances, bribes, and hidden agendas in plain language. Do not supply reaction as evidence. Instead, let silence act as a filter. The louder they grow, the weaker their position becomes. When they run out of steam, their intentions are exposed and ripe for exploitation. Practice until silence is reflex. Quiet tactic. Triumph should be surgical, not theatrical. When praised, offer a brief acknowledgement and then pivot to consequence or task. When celebrated, ask a strategic question that reframes applause as utility rather than emotion. People expect jubilation and are disarmed by restraint. Their discomfort yields confessions, alliances, and revealed obligations. Trim narratives to facts that cannot be parsed into motive. The less they can inventory about you, the more they will invent. And invention always inflates your perceived resources. Make celebration scarce and let praise convert into obligation. Reserve warmth only for strategic investments that return structural power consistently. Final truth: unreadability manufactures authority because unpredictability forces caution. When others cannot read your motives, they hedge, preempt, and concede small advantages rather than risk engagement. Treat your composure as a closed ledger. Gestures rare, responses precise, emotions economy class, and reserved for transactions that pay interest. React only when reaction secures structural gain, and never out of habit or pride. Over weeks, the simplest outcomes emerge. Fewer direct attacks, more concessions, and a quiet field of influence that requires no proclamation. Keep still, keep silent, and let the world bend toward the steadiness you embody. This is dominance, practiced without ostentation. Habit 4 is the calculated displays of scarce power. In social hierarchies, attention follows contrast and absence more reliably than effort alone. Constant display flattens impact. Rare, decisive interventions register as inevitabilities. When presence is rationed, memory sharpens, and observers instinctively elevate what appears seldom. This dynamic shapes leadership, reputation, and fear across courts, boardrooms, and streets. Preserving power through selective revelation. Scarcity refines status, converting brief action into enduring legend and strategic advantage. Hunger settles in their voices when they attempt to measure your limits. That itch to know becomes a lever they hand you if you answer. You have felt this. Tests thinly disguised as questions. Allies probing for commitment. Rivals manufacturing small crises to gauge response. Do not provide the map they seek. Instead, let them fill silence with assumptions that enlarge your competence beyond what is shown. When action is finally required, deliver it with surgical clarity so that doubt collapses instantly. Remember that restraint itself is a form of force. Machiavelli noted that occasional severity keeps men obedient far longer than constant pressure, and this intermittent severity creates a memory stronger than steady command. The trick is control. Let scarcity inflate value, then puncture the inflated illusion with undeniable fact. Afterward, withdraw into observation, allowing their imaginations to expand what you did into territory you never explicitly claimed. This breeds deference without expenditure. End the scene before they can normalize your power. Let the echo of one decisive act do the work of 1,000 speeches. Allow fear of your next move to calculate their choices. For you, every time, relentlessly, a cold satisfaction will climb your chest. The first time silence forces someone to confess, you will sense their relief as a currency to be exchanged. Their disclosure, offering leverage you did not solicit. Make confession a predictable outcome of your restraint. Design interactions so that others reveal obligations, alliances, and fears. When you act, make the moment compact and surgically precise. Do not perform a single uncompromised correction or an unmistakable instruction should reorient behavior and settle disputes without argument. Then disappear from the stage, letting memory and rumor aggrandize what you accomplished. Repetition cheapens authority. 1,000 displays create skepticism, while one brilliant move creates legend. Train this in low-stakes environments until timing becomes instinct, until the muscle memory of withholding precedes impulse. Use small tests to build credibility so that when a major action is necessary, it lands with the credibility of precedent. Demand consequences without spectacle, and convert every concession into a recorded advantage. Record every minor concession silently. Each one compounds into leverage. you can later extract with surgical timing and ruthless clarity now. Withdraw immediately. Let the silence you leave press them toward obedience. A storm will become your signature if you learn to condense force into moments that rearrange expectation. You will find opportunities everywhere. A subordinate overreaching, an ally wavering, a rival attempting to rewrite facts. Choose a single, undeniable intervention that restores order in your favor, and then remove yourself from the scene. Let them talk about what happened while you remain absent. Rumor multiplies significance. Build ritual around scarcity. Limit visible competence in routine tasks so that competence appears sudden when truly needed. Practice interventions in small conflicts until your timing is flawless. Rehearse silence and watch how others reveal their leverage without prompting. When stakes rise, deploy the same compact violence of attention. A look, a directive, a reallocation of resources. And stop. Allow the social calculus to densify around your act. Let others adjust strategies to avoid provoking you. Maintain a ledger of outcomes privately and use it to demand behavioral currency later. Do not repeat displays to prove a point. Let one storm teach obedience and let absence teach restraint. Never offer explanations afterward. Withdraw quickly and let the space of mystery you leave function as a permanent advantage. Habit 5 is the aura of untouchable independence. Dependence corrodes power across structures of social life. When someone signals the need, approval, money, or emotional shelter, the silent hierarchy shifts and predictability emerges. Those who cling become manipulable. In courts, companies, and intimate circles, necessity invites leverage. Enduring authority forms when relations are chosen freely, not compelled by obligation, and when personal stability remains intentionally obscure. Cultivate distance as policy. Let inner resources appear, adequate and self-contained. Hunger will flare when a convenient offer arrives. Disguised as friendship, you feel immediate relief like heat in the chest, a private easing that pushes choices toward acceptance. That relief is currency others spend to buy leverage. It writes obligations into a ledger you did not authorize. Notice how posture softens and replies shorten. Do not accept assistance reflexively. When help is offered, request exact terms, a visible timeline, and a public acknowledgement. Force them to name expectations. Their words reveal price and motive. Convert affection into accountability. Require a witness or written note tying the favor to measurable return. Keep a private register of favors and promised returns, so memory cannot be spun against you. Treat generosity as transaction, not grace. Midway through bargaining, remember the old lesson. Machiavelli warned that a ruler must avoid debts of loyalty, for they become chains, and that applies to everyday exchange. Do not let gratitude calcify into ownership. If they resist stating terms, smile and withdraw. Silence will press them to reveal intent and alliances. Make acceptance contingent on reciprocity you can later enforce. Insist favors be visible and enforceable. Private bargains become weapons. Practice this in small interactions until insisting on terms is reflexive. Record concessions as assets and deploy them with timing that reshapes relationships. Accept nothing without a ledger and refuse anything that cannot be turned into future advantage. Make dependence costly. Let the price of binding you exceed what most will pay. Use public acknowledgement as currency. Demand visible commitments others cannot repudiate. Then spend recorded favors at decisive moments to force conformity. Practice until instinct becomes automatic. Fear will whisper that walking alone equals vulnerability. You will sense the social pull to join coalitions, accept sponsorships, or pledge loyalty to avoid exposure. That impulse can be exploited by those who trade dependence for influence, prefer exits and options, control cash flows, limit joint commitments, and preserve unilateral freedom of movement. Display self-sufficiency early. Pay your own way, keep schedules private, and decline favors that carry unstated conditions. Guard personal information. Do not map your liabilities or habitual patterns for others to use. Shape relationships around mutual benefit, not need. When favors occur, make exchanges visible and contractual so they cannot be repurposed secretly as leverage. The less someone knows of your lacks, the less they can purchase influence over you. Convert independence into mystique. Cultivate scarce presence, unreadability, and a life that invites speculation. People fear what they cannot measure, and that fear stabilizes your position. Let ambiguity work for you. Allow others to overestimate resources or to assume you are unreachable. Both assumptions constrain their willingness to provoke or manipulate. Make generosity conditional and scarce, and insist on public accountability when you accept help. Keep a private ledger of favors owed and extract small repayments until obligations compound into real leverage. Walk away from relationships that demand more than they return. Prioritize options preserving autonomy. Practice absence as a tactic. Leave gatherings early, answer slowly, and make your engagement a privilege. Let your silence and scarcity become your signature. Over time, hesitation will ripple through those who might threaten or bargain with you because they cannot find a reliable hold. That hesitation is silent power. Codify it into practice and refuse to be owned. Act accordingly. Final principle: authority as a silent weapon. Power does not announce itself. It gathers like pressure beneath the earth, invisible until the ground shifts. Most people chase recognition, believing that noise creates significance. Yet the loud reveal their limits, and the predictable invite challenge. True authority operates as a gravitational field. Quiet, unseen, impossible to ignore. Those who embody it bend the rhythm of a room without a single demand. Obedience flows not from words, but from the weight of presence itself. Cold realization hits when you notice how easily crowds surrender to that weight. You feel it in the slight quickening of breath when someone enters and every conversation falters. You want that stillness to belong to you, but hunger betrays you. Authority begins with restraint, and restraint feels unnatural. You must silence the impulse to explain, to fill air, to reassure. Each unsaid word hardens into power. Remember Machiavelli's warning that fear of the unknown compels obedience more effectively than any law. People cannot fight what they cannot read, so you let them guess. Their guessing does your work. Their unease becomes your armor. Discomfort will tempt you to break the tension. You will want to smile, to prove you are harmless. Resist. Authority thrives when others cannot. Locate the edges of your intent. Slow your speech until every pause lengthens into a question they cannot answer. Control pace and arrival as you would a weapon. Appear after conversation begins, leave before it ends, and watch how their attention follows. Scarcity breeds desire. The less of yourself you show, the more they crave proof you even care. Their craving becomes dependence. Emotion is your next battlefield. Rage, joy, even pride are signals enemies can map. Impenetrable composure is not emptiness. It is strategy. You train your face to neutrality, your posture to stillness, until triumph and humiliation produce the same expression. Practice in small confrontations. A careless insult, an unexpected delay, a public slight. Hold the same calm gaze. The room will shift before you do. They will retreat because they cannot locate a reaction to exploit. The unreadable are untouchable. Power revealed too often decays. Demonstrated only when a moment can burn into memory. Undecisive act. A command that ends an argument. A decision delivered without preamble. Outlasts 100 small displays. Step forward only when the timing promises silence afterward. Then step back and let the echo work. Your withdrawal turns the action into legend. Scarcity sharpens the blade. They will recount the moment long after you have moved on, unsure whether it was calculated or instinctive. Their uncertainty binds them tighter than loyalty ever could. Independence seals the structure. Dependence is a doorway others will walk through to own you. You cut it off, financially, emotionally, socially, until nothing essential can be taken. Favors are logged, never owed. Partnerships remain voluntary and temporary. People sense when they cannot bargain with need, and that sense unsettles them more than open defiance. They wonder what resources you hold, what alliances you hide, what exits you keep ready. Their wondering keeps them cautious, and caution is silent submission. By now, the habits fuse into something larger than practice. Strategic silence hardens into gravity. Controlled presence bends time. Composure erases weakness. Scarce displays of strength become myth. Independence builds mystery. Together they form a field others feel before they understand. Authority ceases to be an act. It becomes atmosphere. You walk into a room and conversations stumble without knowing why. You leave and the absence feels heavier than arrival. This is the weapon few ever master. It does not shout or strike. It requires no argument, no proof. It is the power to make others adjust themselves before you speak. It is the force that makes compliance feel voluntary. Cultivate it long enough, and you will notice the shift. Doors open, unasked. Rivals hesitate. Allies compete for proximity. They will not name the reason. They will simply obey, and you will wield authority as it was meant to be. Silent, unseen, and absolute. Every subtle motion, every pause, every refusal you've practiced is part of a larger architecture. Strategic silence, measured presence, impenetrable composure, scarce displays of power, and absolute independence are not habits. They are instruments. Together, they transform ordinary presence into a gravitational force that bends the will of others. The central truth is brutal and unavoidable. People follow not the loud, the visible, or the kind, but the psychologically sovereign. Authority is sensed before it is named, and once it is felt, it cannot easily be resisted. From today, you will no longer offer your energy freely to those who would manipulate it. You will no longer react to every provocation, nor seek validation from the ignorant and unobservant. You will move with the calm inevitability of someone who understands that influence is quiet and power is subtle. Others will adjust to you without realizing it, and their compliance will feel instinctive, as if they were always meant to yield to your presence. You are no longer merely participating in social currents. You are reshaping them. Write this declaration in the comments. I am untouchable. I bend the world silently, and none may bargain for my attention. This is not mere affirmation. It is the first step in owning your psychological sovereignty. Declare it, cement it, Let the act itself mark the boundary between those who chase and those who command.